After listening to Bears GM Ryan Poles talk about the Bears safety position, who and how many players will be back from a list that includes those starting safeties, Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, and reserve Elijah Hicks, and Jonathan Owens.
So we're going to take a step back and kind of evaluate that and put that puzzle together.
By acknowledging Byard's great year with an NFL leading 7 interceptions and an all-pro status.
I think Kevin's a special player. I have no problem saying, that's a player that we would like to have back. But again, when you add the other safeties into that mix and all the other decisions we have across the roster, cap restraints, things like that, it'll be a challenge. But that's part of what we do.
That's what they do. So what do you think? Ryan Poles all in on Kevin Byard?
It sounded like he wants Kevin Byard back, doesn't it? Now, I think that the issue is there have got to be multiple issues, one of which is length of deal. If you're Kevin Byard, you don't want to come back for a year. You want to come back for a few years, right? And if you're the Bears, you'd love to have him back next year. I don't know that you want him for a few years, just because of age taking its toll. He had a phenomenal season. He was the leader of the secondary. He is a good leader when you hear him talk. But he is also a guy, and I'm not being rude or mean to any one person, but when we talked to Brian Baldinger, who knows him well, about him early in the season, he was kind of acknowledging, he has slowed down. He looks a hair slower, and you don't want to see that happen. You don't want to be late on a guy. I think he's done enough and been good enough. You want him back next year. But I don't know how much that costs, and I don't know if he wants 1 year. And I don't know if you want to give him more than that. So I think there are problems with signing him. The fact that the 4 guys are back, it means one of the 2 starters are definitely not back. That's what that means. Maybe both. But I'm sure there's not a huge market out there for Elijah Hicks or Jonathan Owens. So it's likely that guys like that do come back. But if they can get some money somewhere else, go crazy. I think you got to be happy if that happens.
Simone's going to need a new coat.
Yeah, I think she can afford her own coats. I think she's
just saying.
Yeah.
She's got a really cool.
So Mr. Simone Biles might not be back.
But might not be back.
No, but you hope. You hope they have shared bank accounts and he can buy her
if that changes,
whatever she wants.
I'll flip on that.
Wow. David with the verbal gymnastics.
Yeah, he sounded all in to me on Kevin Byard. That's what I heard. I definitely heard Kevin Byard's back.
I would not want to be Jaquan Brisker looking for cues yesterday from my boss to wonder if they want me back, although he probably already knows. If you wanted Jaquan Brisker to come back, yesterday was the day to make that clear, to hint, to indicate. But I think this is why we know now, or we sense now, Jaquan Brisker was lingering after the loss.
He took a knee on the field.
He's soaking it in.
He really did a good job.
He'll be a fine NFL player for a lot of years if he stays healthy. Jaquan Brisker had a lot to offer, and maybe he will come back, but I don't think they're going to be able to afford both. And yesterday was clear about this. Ryan Poles values Kevin Byard not just for the 7 picks that he had to lead the league. He values him in that locker room as a leader. He is essentially going to be Kevin Byard, free safety, defensive captain, assistant coach, because of the messaging that he's so good at being consistently sending. And I think they're unrelated thoughts, but Al Harris, the defensive back coach who interviewed with the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers to be coordinator, if he goes, Kevin Byard's value increases because you're going to need a strong voice in that room. Al Harris was a guy that connected with the cornerbacks, certainly. We give him credit for that. But Kevin Byard is as important as ever to this team. And as much as Ben Johnson wants to start over, the continuity is the part that he's not going to be able to convince anybody. That matters. It matters, and Kevin Byard's return is a big deal and a big part of all of that.
That question remains.
With left tackle Ozzy Trapilo out until
deep into next year.
Wow. As Ryan Poles said, do you believe the Bears are considering signing a free agent left tackle or drafting one in the first 2 rounds a high priority? Would you address that?
I think you've got to approach it like you're not going to have Ozzy Trapilo for season 2. Unfortunately, and that is a sad reality, because he had really progressed to the point where you understood why they drafted him in the 2nd round. Pro Football Focus had him highly rated and a big contributor to this rookie class, but year 2, you can't count on him. So you have to approach year 2 as a division champion, as a playoff contender, as a Super Bowl aspirer, that you need a left tackle. So fix your cap, get in a position where if there are free agents out there, you pursue and negotiate and offer, or target somebody in the draft. And whether it's the 1st round, 25th, or the 2nd round, it's going to be deeper in the draft, but I think you're going to need a left tackle. No doubt about it. I wouldn't trust Braxton Jones to return to that spot. He might not even be back at all. And certainly they showed you what they thought of Theo Benedict when it mattered. And no, Joe Thuney is not an option.
So well said. Joe Thuney should not be the option. It should not be, let's have Joe Thuney play left tackle until Ozzy gets back. But I could see them maybe doing that. I don't like that, because that guard played pretty well. I think we need a little bit more. Like, did he have a good? How did he end up grading out? What did Olin? So much to talk about. What did Olin think of his game after watching that tape a couple of times? They thought enough of him to do it, but then obviously that maybe weakens that inside running game. They had a nice 3-man weave, if you will, going between the center and the 2 guards. And Jonah Jackson came out as the highest graded offensive lineman from that game specifically. So I think draft capital, though, depending on safeties, what does everybody think the Bears need? Help on that defensive line, whether it's edge rusher or inside. Those might be your first 2 picks. So, can you find a starting left tackle in the middle? Now, the other thing, if this is a free agent destination, maybe there's a guy who's got a year or 2 left in him at left tackle that wants to potentially play with a Caleb Williams, that likes the Ben Johnson offense. Is there somebody from Detroit still lingering around that might come over from Detroit? Is that something? So there's a lot here. I don't know about a 1st or 2nd round offensive tackle right now.
Okay, I feel pretty confident that I do know about it. I feel pretty confident that they told me that Theo Benedict is not a starting left tackle because they moved Joe Thuney out from guard. That was a message, whether anyone wants to listen to it or not. So they don't have a left tackle. Trapilo's hurt, and this is going to be late into next season. As the man said, I would either use my 1st round pick. There are a couple. I have not done a lot of deep dive into the draft yet. I have looked at a bunch of mock drafts. The first ones were just released, and I notice everybody's taken a defensive tackle. They feel the value is at defensive tackle down there as opposed to defensive end. So I noticed that everyone's giving the Bears a defensive tackle. I also saw a couple of offensive tackles, left tackles down there, guys that they had questions about. This is not like a giant class of left tackles available. So there's only a few. There might be some sleepers that get into the bottom of the 1st round. They may be able to take one there and then work with them and get someone going there. But I feel like they need a left tackle because they told me that Theo Benedict can't play that position in a pinch. And they told me that Kieran Amagaji is the only other guy on the Braxton Jones wasn't even, they didn't make him eligible to compete in that game, so they're moving on from him. He's out of contract, and I would be stunned if he were back. So I think that you're not going to cut Amagaji because there's no reason to. Maybe if you get into training camp and he doesn't make the team, you don't cut him, or then you do cut him. But at this point, there's no reason to. So you let him have the offseason, you see what he can do. If he improves, whatever. But you're going to have Benedict there. You're going to need a left tackle. You cannot do what they did with Joe Thuney again. That is not an option. You don't want to ever do that again. That damaged their team I tell you, I know that fact, that he did not play as well as he usually plays, and that damaged their team by making that move. They might have been better off trying to go with Theo Benedict, but the fact that they didn't in that situation tells me they need a left tackle, and I'll be very interested to see if they try to get a veteran guy, as you're saying, which would be ideal, or if they draft one. But either way, they need to get that position solved.